guys, well today we're going to go over my GoPro setup. I've had this since winter. I was really hoping that this would be sort of my solution for cold weather filming, and I don't know whether it was a combination of the cold weather or maybe early firmware. This was right after the holiday season. They really pumped out a ton of these things. Their marketing just went through the roof right around the holiday season. Now, this is not the only sort of point of view action camera out there. There are many other good ones. Its main other competitor, I think, is probably the Contour. It is more of a bullet shaped than a big and square. I mentioned in my one of my first vlogging videos, you can see it's sort of an obnoxious shape, and I think that's some of the only negative comments I've ever heard from the GoPros. Really, it's kind of obnoxious to have the big bulky square case sit up there. The only other complaint that I ever ran into was some underwater stuff that I was not able to do personally, just due to my locale. I'm not in Seattle anymore. I don't have access to deep water like I did up there. But there's a lot of people that were doing the mod to a flat screen. This domed screen really lent itself to kind of being blurry, and so people were modding themselves. Well, GoPro has come out since with a flat lens that you can use specifically for underwater photography. I was really hoping this was going to be a solution. I had the PlaySport the year before, and I went on this multiple day winter adventure, whatever you want to call it, and I don't know whether it was its firmware or being too cold. I got back and the SD card in there was not able to transfer anything. All the videos were corrupted, so I since ditched that HD or the SD card, and I've never had any problems since then with the Kodak PlaySport. So something happened in the really cold weather. The other thing that happens in the cold weather is it sucks the battery down. Now, the Hero 2 is supposed to have a battery warmer in there. I certainly think that helps, but being extended on the top of your head or out in the weather and not shielded for any amount of time, I'm sure it does not help. I didn't have any issues with battery life per se. We'll get into accessories here in a second. I want to insert a clip right here, kind of what I ran into in some of my winter adventures, where I thought maybe it was filming, and I got home and I had, although it transferred the video over, as you'll see here. Well, when you need to see some and you're looking for stuff at night, you're going to need a handheld torch. So as you saw, it was kind of a grainy red and blue and green, and it was doing some weird stuff. And if you watch the whole video, it sort of comes in and out. It did not do that consistently through the whole picture. That was just a short little snippet. Now, a lot of them, like where I started filming, you know, they were fine, and then all of a sudden at one point 4, 5, or 6 different clips were that weird fuzzy, you know, green and blue streaky ones where it was kind of weird, you couldn't really tell what was going on. And then I had a couple at the end of the SD card that were fine. So I'm not sure if the temperature played anything, because by the end I was also near the fire, and you know, I'm sure it had warmed up a little bit and that had helped. So time will tell. I do know one of the things I will tell you to do is go to their support section of the GoPro.com to download it's sort of like their own little mini editing system. It doesn't really do a whole lot of things that any other free editing system would do, but what it does do is it will read the firmware, and it will make sure that all your components are upgraded to the newest software glitch to take advantage of all the new things. And that's really where the GoPro shines. Not to say any of the other action cameras don't have, you know, a million little mounts and cables and things to attach, but the GoPro has, the Hero 2 sets itself apart with just the way they made it more adaptable. We'll get into that in a second. People asked me on that winter adventure. I'll put a link up here. It was called like Winter Storm or something like that. It was one of my first big outings in the winter using the GoPro. And you simply attach it to the GoPro head strap, and then the problem you run into is you can't then put a traditional headlamp on there. So I ran just with the Phoenix clip, and in fact I had the Eagle Tack with the diffuser lens, which I'll put a link up there to the Eagle Tack review. This light worked out well, easy to turn on off. With the head swivel, it goes to a high to low without having to deal with the switch at all. And that was just mounted on the side of the head, so the GoPro could be in the middle. It seemed to work out just fine. Like I said, the only issues I had was when it was getting pretty cold. You know, a couple of those clips went out. I did have a couple times where it would freeze, not temperature-wise, but you know, computer control-wise. You would go to click it off, and it wouldn't even be flashing that it was recording. It'd be a solid light. Again, I've had it happen once since I've upgraded the firmware. Recently, while I was on a motorcycle, I reached up and hit stop, got off, pulled my helmet off, and it wasn't even blinking. It had a solid light. So it's not flawless, that's for sure. A couple of the things: it takes an SD card, has an HDMI if you guys are into the all the flat screen TV stuff. It does have a USB that I use quite a bit for charging, and then it has an external mic. And so on my helmet, you'll see when we get to that video, I'll probably do it in a separate video of what I have set up, is external mic runs into the helmet from that. I did modify the GoPro case. All you do is you pull off multiple doors off the back. Some of them have gaps in to allow more sound. Some are completely waterproof. This one here happens to work with its own backpack. There are several backpacks that you can get that basically attach to the back here. There's a little section, and that just rotates, and then the piece clicks in there. So because of that, you'll need a deeper case to hold the more depth. But because of that, this one here, you'll see the three lights light up. This is a spare battery case. The other thing that this does is it gives you a way to charge the GoPro battery from USB separately while you're using this one. So it just enables a little bit more freedom in there. It's also all USB based, which I love, because that's kind of, other than AA's, that's basically what I'm trying to work towards, is having all my gear being USB based, which is not hard nowadays. Alright, the other backpack I have besides the double battery backpack is the new Wi-Fi backpack. And this is what a lot of you guys have been seeing. You can see there's a battery indicator, there's a little antenna mode. On this side there's a USB for its own internal lithium-ion battery, and then a switch, and that's a reason for its own back door, is because that little switch here, while it's in the case, will control the Wi-Fi button. And the Wi-Fi button will actually shortcut through the menu controls straight to that. I actually have this one set to upside down mode. And for the motorcycle, so I've been running the higher frame rate at 48, not quite 1080p, 960, and doing the wide angle. So still playing with that. As you guys know, I'm still fairly new to using the GoPro in that manner. But a couple things the Wi-Fi backpack does and will be doing in the future. It'll have some updates, which again allows the GoPro to really kind of shine in its upgradability and adaptability in the future. Is this little remote wrist strap. There's a couple little pieces you can slide in here. It has its own battery that it charges on. I did have this once get accidentally turned on in the backpack, went to use it, and it was dead. So just be aware these soft switches are easier to turn on apparently. But I still even have the plastic protection screen on there. What you'll see is the exact, this is upside down, the exact same thing you see on the remote is what's on the camera. So when I hit record, it controls the camera. And then I hit stop, and the camera stops. The reason that is, I don't know, a better option than not, is simply because when this is mounted on a handlebar or outside of the car or on your helmet, there have been many times where I could have sworn, when I had this hooked onto my head strap, I could have sworn I hit go, and there is a way to have the beep on there, but I figured I would just save the battery, not have the beep. So you can have it beep, I suppose. It's probably better than not. But there were several times where I could have sworn I turned it on, and I go to turn it off, and then I accidentally basically turn it on when I thought I was turning it off. What the wrist module does, you can either hook it to your handlebars, or it's a little bit, the strap isn't quite as big for my manly wrists in my motorcycle gear, so it's a little tricky, which is why in some of my videos you guys see I have like an identification sort of sleeve patch where you can put IDs or travel passes or you know, all sorts of stuff in my motorcycle jacket. And so I put that on there. The problem with having it on my left is I have to let go of the throttle, come over here, hit the button. If it's on my right sleeve, I can stay on the throttle and come over. So a lot of times I will just actually put it on the handlebar. It just allows me to control the GoPro a little bit better. The other problem I've run into is sometimes if I don't want to run the super wide angle lens, a lot of you guys don't like that fisheye effect. The only settings that allow me to change the angle are the lower settings. And so if I, or excuse me, that's backwards. The only settings that allow me to change that are the highest setting. So if I want to do a narrow and not the fisheye wide lens, I have to go into 1080p. Well, the problem with motorcycle vlogging or doing any sort of trip activity or action sports or whatever you're using this for is you're going to have one really long file and huge file at 1080p if you don't turn this on and off. For me, I use a laptop, and so I like smaller clips, and I can always add all those multiple clips together to make one video, which is generally what I do. To be able to cut one big video, a 20 or 40 minute long motorcycle ride, into bits and pieces of where the action was or dividing it up, my laptop hates that. And so I try, when I'm out, to make shorter clips, 2, 5, 10-minute clips instead of 40-minute clips to an hour clips. It's just you're going to need some processing power to be able to chew through all those video clips. This wrist remote allows me to do that and know exactly what the camera's doing without having to unhook it from the back of the truck, from the helmet, from my head, and it's very advantageous that way. The third thing, which I really haven't been able to take advantage of, is that Wi-Fi Backpack is going to have an app involved so that you can link it through Bluetooth through a smartphone. One of the reasons I went with this before is something I didn't mention earlier. One of my only negative comments about this is you don't know where it's aimed. There's no way to see. There's no viewfinder. Even the little Kodak PlaySport has a viewfinder, so you can at least see where your shot is. It's not always the easiest thing to look at, but at least it has that. Something where the Contour has little lasers that point, so you know at least where the camera is, so you can kind of set up the shot or the angle that you think you're going to want. So one of the backpacks they do offer is an LCD screen. It's about 80 bucks. This Wi-Fi backpack is only, I think, 90 bucks or 99 bucks. It's only a few dollars more. And eventually, when the app comes out, I'll be able to see what the camera sees through my smartphone. So that basically gives me everything that other one is going to give me with all these other features for $10, $20 more. That was my reasoning for go for the Wi-Fi. It would just become available. So I'm glad I waited and didn't get the LCD backpack. You're also able to use this as a webcam, but I think really with that smartphone app, you could set this up and you can keep tabs on, you know, your motorcycle. If you wanted to set it up somewhere in an apartment and check on it, you'd be able to turn on the camera on and off from here, look through your smartphone, and be able to have kind of a security camera within its limitations of its range for the Wi-Fi capability and the Bluetooth. But it just gives you a whole other sort of realm of possibilities where other cameras just don't even sort of touch on it. Now the sound does suck in there, and that's why I've been using, I can't show you the stereo microphone because I'm actually currently using the digital SLR because its microphone sucks. I'm going to stop this video here. This is kind of my basic impressions and overall of the GoPro, of what I'm using, and then we will do a motorcycle vlogging. It shouldn't be too long, but this video is getting a little bit long anyway. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Like I said, the Wi-Fi Backpack is fairly new, but I do enjoy it. The back lithium ion inside has about a 6-hour runtime, where the internal has only a 2. So, you know, you can go through, you can basically keep this on for 6 hours, save the battery itself for when you're filming, and then just turn it on and off by the remote. And it's made the whole move to vlogging on a motorcycle a whole lot easier than the sort of the guessing game and seeing what you're going to do. But I thank you for watching.